Hello, friends. We have all stood there. At the edge of a cliff called decision below us, a fog of unknown futures behind us, the crumbling ground of what used to be, and in the air, a silence so loud it hurts. A career path diverges in a wood, a relationship reaches its breaking point. A doctor delivers news that splits your life into a before and an after. In these moments, the world expects an answer. It whispers in the dead of night, not what should I do, but who should I trust? We are taught to make lists, pros and cons. We are told to follow our gut, to trust our intuition. But what happens when the pros and cons are perfectly balanced? What happens when your gut is tied in a knot of fear and your intuition is screaming a dozen contradictory things? This is the anatomy of a true crossroads. It is a place where and it is in this precise place of paralysis that we are invited to discover a different way of choosing. A way that does not depend on our own flawed foresight, but on an unshakable divine foundation. Today, we are not going to talk about a simple prayer of petition, a coin tossed into a cosmic wishing well, hoping it lands on heads. We are going to uncover a prayer that is a posture, a prayer that is a posture, a prayer that is less about getting an answer and more about becoming the kind of person who can receive one. This is the prayer you pray before you make any major decision. It begins not with a request, but with an honest confession, deep in the desert of your own fear. Imagine the landscape, barren, rocky. The sun beats down with an indifferent fury. A man 80 years old is tending sheep. He was once a prince of Egypt, raised in the splendor of Pharaoh's courts, educated in all its wisdom. Now he is a fugitive, a murderer, a forgotten man in a forgotten land called Midian. His name is Moses, and for 40 years his world has been the bleating of sheep and the taste of dust. His grand destiny, if he ever believed he had one, has evaporated under the desert heat. One day, Horeb, the mountain of God, and he sees it, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed. The fire dances on the leaves, but does not turn them to ash. It is a paradox, a violation of the laws of nature. Curiosity, perhaps the only flicker of his old princely self that remains, draws him closer. He has to understand this impossible sight. As he approaches, a voice erupts from the heart, and he, a man who has not been significant to anyone but his family for 4 decades, answers, "Here I am." The voice identifies itself as the God of his fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses hides his face because he is afraid to look at God. This is the beginning of his great decision. God lays out a plan of liberation. "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cry. Go back to the place where you are a wanted man. Confront the most powerful ruler on earth and lead a nation of slaves to freedom." Moses is standing at the most significant crossroads of his life, and his response is not a courageous leap of faith. His response is raw, unfiltered human fear. He asks, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" This is the first part of the prayer we must all pray. Who am I to offer forgiveness when I am so broken myself? We try so hard to project confidence, to fake it until we make it. But the divine process begins with authenticity. It begins when we stop posturing and start confessing our limitations. Moses does not pretend. He lays his insecurities bare before the fire. "My whole life is a failure. I am a shepherd, not a savior. I am a man on the run." He does not try to boost his self-esteem. God's answer is simple: "I will be with you." The solution to Moses' inadequacy is not found within Moses. It is found in the presence of God. This is the first step at any major crossroads, to lay down the heavy burden of pretending you have it all together, to stand before the mystery and admit, "I am not enough. I am afraid. I do not know the way." This honest confession is not a sign of weakness. But Moses isn't convinced. His fear is a fortress. He throws up another wall. "What if they ask me your name? What shall I tell them?" He is looking for credentials, for a banner to march under, for something tangible to quiet the fear, and God gives him the most mysterious and powerful name in existence. "I am who I am. Tell them I am has sent you." This is not just a name. It is a statement of eternal self. He is not defined by circumstances. He is the circumstance the prayer deepens. It moves from confessing our own emptiness to acknowledging his eternal fullness, from "I am not" to "he is." So you stand at your crossroads. You have a choice to make. You have confessed your fear now. You must anchor your decision not in the shifting sands of your ability, but in the bedrock of his identity. The God who is will be, his presence is the only constant in the equation of your life. Yet Moses still resists. He throws up a third wall, a fourth, a fifth. What if they do not believe me? I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue, please. Send someone else. Each objection is a symptom of the same disease, a focus on self. The prayer before a major decision requires a radical shift in focus. It is a battle. God's patience is not infinite, but his purpose is unmovable. He provides solutions for every problem Moses raises. He gives him signs. He appoints his brother Aaron to be his mouthpiece. He does not eliminate the fear, but he makes a path through it. The decision for Moses was never truly about going to Egypt. It was about whether he would trust the I am more than he trusted his own sense of I am not. And so it is for us. The choice before you, the job, the first part of this prayer, then, is the prayer of Moses. It is the raw, honest, sometimes argumentative conversation where we empty ourselves of all our excuses, all our inadequacies and all our fears, until all that is left is the simple, terrifying and liberating promise, I will be with you. Only then are we ready for the second stage. The landscape shifts, we leave the desolate wilderness. His father was a giant, a warrior, poet, a man after God's own heart who unified a nation. David is dead and his son, Solomon, now reigns. The responsibility is crushing. He is to govern a great people so numerous they cannot be counted. He feels the immensity of the task, the ghost of his father's legacy, the whispers of his own inexperience. One night, in a dream, God appears to him, and he makes an offer that would define a man's soul. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. Imagine this moment, a blank check from the creator of the universe. What would you ask for? Riches, to secure your kingdom and live in unparalleled luxury. Long life to enjoy your reign and cement your dynasty. The death of your enemies, to eliminate all threats and rule in peace. These are the things the world craves. But Solomon is in a place of profound humility, crushed and remade by the weight of his calling. He has already prayed the prayer of Moses. He knows his own inadequacy. He has told God, I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. His confession of weakness has prepared him for this moment of choice. So when God offers him anything, Solomon does not ask for things. He does not ask for outcome. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? This is the second movement of the prayer before a major decision, the prayer of Solomon. After we have emptied ourselves of our fear and inadequacy, we must ask not for a specific answer, but for the wisdom to see the path when it appears. We so often pray, God, tell me what to do. Show me a sign. Write it in the sky. We want the answer given to us, a divine instruction. In the original Hebrew, it is a listening heart. A heart that can hear the subtle whisper of truth beneath the roar of circumstance. A heart that can distinguish not just between good and evil, but between the good and the best. When you face your major decision, do not just pray for the right door to open. Pray for the eyes to see which door is right. Pray for the heart that can discern the difference between an opportunity and a distraction. God was so pleased with Solomon's request because he did not ask for the predictable things, the selfish things. He asked for character. He asked for wisdom. And because he asked for the right thing, God gave him not only wisdom, but everything else he did not ask for, riches and honor and long life. The byproduct of a wise heart is a blessed life. And we see this wisdom immediately at work. The famous story of the old Solomon, the little child who did not know how to govern, would have been stumped. But the new Solomon, the man with the listening heart, sets a trap. He says, bring me a sword, cut the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other. It is a horrifying suggestion, a brutal test. But it is not a test of the women's bodies, it is a test of their hearts. The true mother, filled with love, cries out, and in that moment, the truth is laid bare, not by evidence, but by the anatomy of love. Solomon's wisdom was not mere intelligence. It was a divine insight into the human condition. This is what we are asking for in the prayer of Solomon. We are asking for the ability to see the heart of the matter, to cut through the noise, the arguments, the spreadsheets, and see the underlying truth. You're asking for discernment to see the culture, to understand the spirit of the place, to know if it will be a place where your soul can thrive or wither. When you're in a conflict with someone you love, you're not just trying to win the argument. You're asking for a listening heart to hear the pain behind their words, to distinguish between their wound and their weapon. So you have confessed your inadequacy like Moses. You have asked for a discerning heart like Solomon. You have a garden late at night. The air is thick with the scent of olive trees and betrayal. The moon is full, but it offers no comfort. 3 of your closest friends are asleep nearby, their chests rising and falling in peaceful ignorance of the storm that is about to break. But you are not at peace. You are overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. This is Gethsemane, and this is Jesus. He is the nails, the crushing weight of all the world's sin, its greed, its lust, its hatred, its violence, is about to be placed on his shoulders. The perfect communion he has shared with his Father, for all of eternity, is about to be broken. His human body, his human soul, recoils from it. This is the cup of wrath, the cup of suffering, and every fiber of his being wants to refuse it. This is not a moment of calm divine acceptance. This is a struggle. Luke's gospel says his anguish was so great, his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. He is not asking for strength to face the cup. He is asking for the cup to be removed entirely. He is pleading for another way. Is there any other path? Any other plan? Let us not sanitize this moment. The Son of God is on the ground, begging for an escape route. I don't want to have the difficult conversation. I don't want to walk through this illness. I don't want to forgive this person. Please take this cup from me. That prayer is not faithless. It is human. Jesus himself prayed it, but it is not the end of the prayer. It is the crucible in which the true decision is forged. After the honest plea, after the bloody sweat of struggle, comes the pivot. The single most transformative. It is the final and most difficult step. The prayer of surrender. After acknowledging your inadequacy, after asking for wisdom, you must now come to the point where you lay down your own preferred outcome. You release your white-knuckled grip on the future you have planned for yourself. You open your hands and let go of the cup of your ambition, the cup of your comfort, the cup of your revenge, the cup of your perfect predictable life. It is an act of profound and courageous trust. It is the declaration that you believe God's will is ultimately better than your own, even when it leads through pain, even when it leads through darkness, even when it leads to a cross. So you are deciding whether to take the new job in a new city. You've done the Moses prayer. God, I'm terrified of leaving my community, of starting over. Now you must do the Gethsemane prayer. Father, my will is to stay here in my comfort zone, but if your will is for me to go, if this is the path you have for me, then not my will, but yours be done. You are deciding whether to end a relationship that is comfortable but not right. You've confessed your fear of being alone. You've asked for the wisdom to see the truth now. You must surrender, Father. My will is to avoid the pain of The Gethsemane prayer is what transforms a decision from a gamble into an act of worship. It consecrates the choice. It takes the pressure of the outcome off of your shoulders and places it in the hands of the only one who can carry it. Because after Jesus prayed this prayer, an angel came and strengthened him. The circumstances did not change. The cross was still waiting. The betrayal was still imminent, but he was strengthened for the journey. This is the secret. The peace you are looking for is not on the other side of the decision. It is found in the middle of it, in the act of surrender. But what if the path is not just painful, but seems utterly, terrifyingly wrong? What if God's will seems to contradict his own promises? This requires another layer of trust, a faith that can walk in complete darkness. We must travel once more to a stark and silent mountain, not the child of promise, through whom a great nation was to be born. His name is Abraham, and the son's name is Isaac. God has given him a command that shatters every notion of goodness and hope. Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. It is the most monstrous of requests, a negation of There is no Gethsemane prayer recorded for Abraham, no desperate plea for the cup to pass. There is only a quiet, terrifying obedience. He rises early in the morning, saddles his donkey, and begins the 3-day journey. Imagine the silence of that walk. 3 days of looking at the son you are commanded to kill. What thoughts must have gone through his mind? Is this a test? Has God gone mad? Have I misheard? The boy, Isaac, in his innocence, breaks the silence. "Father, the fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" It is a knife to Abraham's heart, and his answer is one of the most staggering statements of faith in all of Scripture. God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering. My son, did he believe it? Or was he just trying to comfort his child? We do not know. But he spoke a truth deeper than his own. It is a prayer prayed not with words, but with footsteps. It is the faith that keeps walking when the path makes no sense. It is the trust that believes in a provider, even when you are walking toward a sacrifice. You may be facing a decision where the path forward feels like a death, a bankruptcy, the end of a dream, a confession that will cost you everything. And God is asking you to walk toward it. The prayer of Abraham is to believe that but you decide to trust that the one who made the promise is faithful to keep it, even if his methods are shrouded in terrifying mystery. Abraham builds the altar. He binds his son. He lays him on the wood. He raises the knife. This is the apex of surrender, a will so completely yielded to God's that it is willing to sacrifice the most precious promise it holds, and at the last possible second, now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. And Abraham looks up, and there in a thicket is a ram caught by its horns. God did provide the lamb. His cryptic prophecy spoken in faith came true. When you are called to make a decision that feels like it will cost you everything, remember Abraham. The surrender is the test. Your willingness to put your Isaac on the altar is the act of worship. He provides a solution you could never have imagined. But the provision is only found on the other side of obedience. Now we have 4 layers to our prayer: the honesty of Moses, the wisdom of Solomon, the surrender of Jesus, the trust of Abraham. But there is one final piece. It is the lens through which we view the entire situation. We must go to a valley, the valley of Elah, an entire army, the army of Israel. He is over 9 feet tall, covered in bronze armor. He is a walking mountain of death, and the soldiers of Israel, including their king Saul, see him for what he is, an unbeatable foe. Their decision is to hide, to cower in their tents. They have made a decision based on fear. They have analyzed the situation with human eyes. Then a young shepherd boy arrives, bringing food for his brothers. The army sees a giant who is too big to hit. David sees a giant who is too big to miss. What is the difference? Perspective. The army is comparing the giant to themselves, and they are small. David is comparing the giant to his God, and the giant is small. When King Saul questions him, David doesn't offer a strategic battle plan. He offers a testimony. He says, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." This is the prayer of David. It is a prayer of remembrance. Before making a major decision, you must look back. You must recount the faithfulness of God in your past. You have faced lions and bears of your own. The illness you survived, the financial crisis you came through, the heartbreak that you thought would kill you but didn't, they are the evidence you bring to the current battlefield. Your decision today is not made in a vacuum. It is made in the context of a long story of God's faithfulness. So when you face your Goliath, the overwhelming debt, the intimidating boss, the addiction that seems unbeatable, stop comparing the giant to your own strength. Instead, make a list, not of pros and cons, but of past victories. Remind yourself of every. David walks into that valley with 5 smooth stones and a sling, but his real weapon is his perspective. He shouts to the giant, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." He had already won the battle in his mind before the first stone was ever slung, because his identity was not in being a shepherd boy, but in being a servant of the living. It is a process. It is a journey. First, the prayer of Moses, honesty. You pour out your fears, your inadequacies, your excuses. You strip away all pretense and stand naked and authentic before God. You confess, "I can't," so that you can hear him say, "I can." Second, the prayer of Solomon, wisdom. You ask not for the answer, but for a discerning, listening heart. You pray to be. Third, the prayer of David, remembrance. You look back at your history with God. You recount every lion and bear, every past deliverance. You build a fortress of faith based on the evidence of his faithfulness, and you use that perspective to reframe the giant in front of you. Fourth, the prayer of Abraham, Trust, you walk forward in obedience. Even when the path makes no sense, you place your most cherished promise, your Isaac, on the altar. And finally, the Gethsemane prayer, surrender. You release your own will. You let go of your preferred outcome. You open your hands, give up the cup, and with courageous faith you declare, "Not my will, but yours be done." This is the prayer. It is not a formula that guarantees a painless life or a perfect outcome. Peter, one of the men who slept in Gethsemane, would later make a disastrous decision out of fear, denying he even... The point of this prayer is not to become a perfect decision maker. The point is to become a person who is perfectly surrendered. Because the true miracle is not always the outcome of the decision, but what happens to your soul during the process. The process of this prayer transforms you. It carves out fear and fills the space with faith. It quiets the noise of the world and tunes your heart to the whisper of God. It shifts. If this journey through the heart of divine decision making has resonated with you, if it has offered a new map for your own crossroads, then I invite you to subscribe to our channel and like this video. It helps us continue to explore these ancient paths together. When you walk through this fivefold prayer, something remarkable happens. A peace that transcends understanding begins to settle in your heart. It is not the peace of knowing what will happen. It is the peace of knowing who you are with. You can act with freedom and courage because your security is no longer in the rightness of your choice, but in the faithfulness of your God. You have consecrated the decision. You have turned a moment of anxiety into an act of worship, and no matter the outcome, you can walk forward knowing you are not alone, guided by a wisdom beyond your own, and held by a love that will never let you go. All right, that is it for today's video. If you